Hi and welcome to Outwell and to the Montana 6 AC from our Air Comfort collection. It is a family tunnel design tent which can sleep up to 6 people. It has 2 bedrooms across the back and a large sealed living space at the front, which we will show you in detail just in a little while. With it being from our Air Comfort collection, you will find that it is a completely inflatable tent. So the main part of the tent here is made up of these tubes, which are certainly easy to inflate, which we'll show you shortly again. In terms of material that we're using on here, we're using our Outex 5000. So this is a really good quality taffeta polyester material, which has been PU coated on the inside. It has fully taped seams and a hydrostatic head of 5,000 millimeters, which basically means that you can be safe in the knowledge that no matter what the weather is that's thrown at you, you'll stay nice and dry within this tent. Inflating the tent is really easy to do. We supply you with a 2-way double action hand pump, just like this one here. So the 2-way part just means that every time you pull up on the lever and push down, you are actually inflating the tube, so really quick and easy to do. The pump does have a pressure gauge on top here, so you can keep an eye on the pressure when you are inflating the tent, and we would recommend pumping this up to 7 psi, which represents 0.5 bar. Attaching the pump into the valves is really simple. You'll see on the outside here, each tube has its own air in valve, so quite clearly marked here, so that's just in underneath here. So all we need to do is just pop the pump into place here, like so, and then we can start inflating. You can then take the pump out, and what you will see is that this is a one-way valve, so the air is not going to come rushing out, so you just replace the cap back on like so. When it comes to taking the tent down, it's really easy and simple to do as well, because each tube then has its own release valve, which is again clearly marked here, air out. So if I just pull that back, you'll see here that this is a release valve. So to deflate the tent, all we need to do is open each one of these all the way along the side of the tent, and that will of course deflate nice and quickly, allowing for easy takedown as well. So some features on the outside as well. I want to highlight our air effective ventilation system on here. So this is where we have the streamlined and sleek ventilation. Underneath here there is a mesh panel to allow for cool fresh air into the tent and reduce condensation. If it gets a little bit too cold within the tent, then we can easily remove these just by taking the Velcro tabs down and pressing down like this. So of course we do have the ventilation here. There's more on the other side and across the back of the tent as well. We have large windows around the tent. These are actually all tinted windows as well, so they serve 2 key functions, one of which is to reduce the amount of glare from the sun inside the tent, and the second is of course to give you much better privacy within there as well. We're using our classic luminous guy lines all the way around the sides of the tent, making it really solid and stable even in higher wind conditions, and with them being luminous, hopefully you should be able to spot them a little bit easier when it gets dark. Each of the guy lines has its own retainer, just like this here, so that's what this little loop is for. So when it comes to packing the tent down, we can take out the guy lines and wrap them up in our hands just to pop them in there, so that the next time you come to use the tent, you don't have a tangled mess of guy lines that you need to waste time on doing. So just behind me here is quite a big feature of this tent. We have a full rain-safe sort of porch entrance on the side here, and that is in place using a full-length alloy pole which runs all the way down to the ground. So again, nice and stable and solid on the side here. Again, tinted windows around this side as well, and this also has a bathtub ground sheet on the inside, which we'll show you when we're in there. So a really, really good area to use if it is a little bit wet, because of course you're going to get the shelter over that sealed area on the inside. Coming round to the front of the tent, what I want to highlight here is actually the shape. So you can see that the tent actually comes up to a peak in the middle here, so this is a sort of Gothic arch shape, if you like. And what that does is, of course, increase the head height inside the tent and adds to the stability as well. The front door that we have on here is a D door, so it's nice and easy to open and roll back, so it rolls to the side as we have done here. And obviously it's a good size, so nice and easy to get all of your kit in and out of the tent, and makes it easily accessible. The ground sheet in here, as I mentioned, is a fully sealed ground sheet, so from front to back and side to side is completely sealed in. So obviously totally waterproof with a hydrostatic head of 10,000 millimeters, but it's also bathtub in style, so if we look around the edges, you should be able to see that it comes up at the edges here, and that's going to stop any drafts from coming in, keep out things like dirt, dust and sand, and more importantly, hopefully keep out those unwanted creepy crawlies as well. I also just want to highlight that the ground sheet is flat at the front here, at the front door. So again, easy access in and out of the tent. So if you've got push buggies or wheelchairs or anything like that, nice and easy to be able to get into the tent. When we close the front door over, what we can do is raise this up, and you'll see along the front here there is a zip which actually attaches onto the door, and it has a protective piece of PVC material on there as well, just to keep that zip completely watertight too. So with the tent being from our Air Comfort collection, we are utilising our power air tube system. So that's where we have these bracer tubes in the tent here. So there's one at the front here, so really easy to put into place. It's actually just velcroed in at both sides here, and that just pops up. So you just inflate this separately, and there's another one across the back of the tent here, which runs along the middle. So what that does, of course, is massively increases the overall stability of the tent. So if it's quite high winds, then you're not going to get the sort of concertina effect within this particular tent. So while we're in here, I will just go back to something I mentioned earlier on, which is the amount of space and head height that you get in here thanks to that Gothic arch. I'm quite tall, about 1.95 meters, and you can see I certainly have plenty of headspace in here. And there's lots of room within this sealed living area as well. You can see here that we've got quite a large table, some chairs, some furniture over here, and it still feels very spacious indeed. As I mentioned before, a lot of that is to do with the fact that we have large windows all the way around here, so letting enough light into the tent to make it feel nice and spacious. But as I said, they are tinted windows, so you still get good privacy. If you do want more privacy, you will find that each individual window has its own curtain, which we just have rolled away at the moment, just down the back here. So obviously you can have the windows completely open like this, or you can actually unroll them and bring them either halfway up, where we have toggle points on here, or of course you can completely close them as well. I'll just highlight while I'm here as well that this is the mesh ventilation panel that I mentioned from the outside. Of course we have that vent closed at the moment, but when that's open, as I say, you'll allow cool fresh air into the tent and reduce the amount of condensation in here as well. So in the middle up the top here we have a lantern hanging point, so in a good central location you can hang your lantern from here, and then running away from that we have some cable tidies, which are all these Velcro tabs here, and they run all the way down to where you will find a cable entry point just down here. So if I zip that open, you'll be able to see that this would be where you can bring in your electrics into the tent without actually having to have this door open. So as I mentioned there is a door on this side, and what you can see is it does have a full mesh door on here which can be zipped completely closed, and across on the other side as well there is another mesh door here, so we can get great through ventilation within this tent, adding to those ventilation panels that I already mentioned. So while I'm over here, I will just highlight to you something that I was talking about earlier on, which is our side porch area here. So you can see, as I said, there is a detachable bathtub ground sheet in here. So this is going to be a really good area to use, as I say, when it's a bit sort of wet outside. You can come into this area, take off your wet muddy boots and over trousers and jackets and things like that before stepping into your lovely sealed area within here. As I said, lots of windows all the way around that area as well, and there is curtains in there, so quite a versatile area that you can use for storage, or even perhaps if you have small kids and a portable toilet, something like that, that could easily go into that area. At the back of the tent is where the bedrooms are located, and as I mentioned earlier on, this tent can sleep up to 6 people. Something that is really handy actually is that these bedrooms are already pre-attached when you first buy the tent, so that's a job that you don't need to worry about. These are already in place for you. Some features on the bedrooms themselves, you can see we have some handy storage pockets on the outside here. The bedroom doors themselves, if I just pull this back here, you'll see you've got mesh ventilation on the front as well. Inside the bedrooms, there's certainly plenty to talk you through as well. We have lots of storage pockets in here. There's a small one at the front, and there's some towards the back corner here, and it's of course the same on the opposite side of the other bedroom. We also have a large mesh ventilation panel across the back, which corresponds to the outside ventilation as well. We then have a hanging gear rope at the back here, and we have our night sky ceiling up here just to keep the bedrooms that little bit sort of darker. So if you're camping in the long summer days, the sun's up quite early, hopefully this will allow you to have a longer lie. But of course, on those long summer days, the sun might not set for quite a long time. So as I say, gives you a little bit of a sort of darker feel within the bedroom, so you're not going to stay awake too much. Now, what I do want to highlight here is we're using our master bedroom within this tent. So that is where we have much more space than your average bedroom. The industry standard depth for a bedroom is round about 215 centimetres, but what we actually have here is a bedroom that is 250 centimetres deep. So what you can see is that we actually have quite a large airbed in here at the moment, and what we do have is quite a lot of space all the way around here, so that actually you can stand up quite easily around the edges of airbeds or camp beds and things like that. It's a lot easier to get dressed and undressed within the bedrooms. So something else that we're using on here is our universal bedroom system, and that's where we have these zips in the middle, and we'll just show you now how that works. We have a few optional extras available for this tent, which would include the fleece carpet that you can see in this area, just giving you a little bit more comfort underfoot. We also have a footprint available to go under the ground sheet of this tent, which is of course going to protect it and keep it nice and clean and dry on those wet and muddy days. We also then have a front awning available for this tent, and we also have a side extension available that will fit this tent. So there you have it then, that's all the features and optional extras for our Montana 6 AC from our Air Comfort collection. Thank you very much for watching. Don't forget, this tent can be inflated using our Typhoon 12 volt compressor pump.